Hello everyone and welcome to the first episode of the Upper Valley Varsity View podcast, Valley news show that, as the name suggests, will take a look at high school athletics throughout the Upper Valley on a rotating basis every other week with the Inside the Woods podcast that covers Dartmouth athletics. I'm your host, Mike Coughlin. Despite the snow that hit some of us earlier this week, it is indeed time for the spring sports season. Regular season tennis matches have kicked off, and the next week, the rest of the spring sports will be hitting the ground running. With that being said, there's no better time to check in on some coaches in the Upper Valley who are ready to lead their teams into a new season. To kick off our inaugural episode, I spoke with Windsor High softball head coach Wendy Moody, who is hoping to turn things around from last season's 1-15 campaign as her squad ventures into new territory, Division IV. In addition to Wendy, I have Mascoma Valley Regional High School's track and field coach Rick Currier on the show. Spoke with Rick about how he's feeling about his squad heading into the new season, what fans should expect from some returning and new coming players. With introductions out of the way, let's get to the rest of the show. Now joining me on the show is Windsor High softball coach Wendy Moody. Wendy has coached softball for the Yellow Jackets for a number of years and is entering her 7th season. She is also co-head coach of the girls soccer team. Hi Wendy, thanks for coming on the show.
Hi Mike, thanks for having me.
So, last season the squad was able to pick up, just one win. As, practices start up, what are some of the things the team is working on to try and improve upon its finish from last season?
So I think the real focus for us has been, which was our Achilles heel, I'd say, last year, is that we really have to emphasize making sure we're offering batters pitchers that they can swing at and that they want to swing at, so that we can make sure that we're forcing them to earn their way onto the bases and then letting our defense work for us. I think that was one of the issues that we faced last year, and we have really focused on that in our preseason practices so that we can certainly put our best foot forward and, take our chances with our defense once the ball's in play.
Right, and, this season will be a bit different for the squad, and that'll be in Division IV instead of Division III. What do you think that move in division will mean for the competitiveness of the team in your games, this season?
I think that we should find ourselves in much tighter scoring positions so that the game, really the games are going to come down to a difference of a few runs either way. So I've really encouraged the girls to think of it in that way so that they will be prepared to think of an extra base is an important thing, because that extra base could lead to an extra run, and that may be the difference at the end of the day. So I'm really, hopeful that we will have some pretty competitive games that will certainly give them a good experience, and I think that, we could, with our bats, I hope that kind of puts us in the driver's seat, that we should be able to score runs and then hopefully defend them and put us in a good position.
Right, and as the season approaches, who are some of your returning players that you're hoping will be standouts this season?
So because our emphasis is on pitching, so we have 3 pitchers in our rotation, senior Mackenzie Cleefish, and we have a sophomore Caden Stour, and another senior Molly Burke. So the 3 of them will share duties throughout the season. And primarily behind the plate is our returning senior Cassie Clark. She's our player that actually is going to SUNY Morrisville next year to play softball. So that's a first for me as a coach here in Windsor. And so I'm really expecting that those key positions and those key players are going to make a difference in our games. Obviously, when they're not on the mound, those players will also play in various positions within the infield and share some duties there. So that's the focus there. Also in our center field, we're going to have Anna Bergeron. She was there last season, and I expect that she will keep us solidly placed out there. Abby Brown, who's a junior in our program, is returning, but she will actually she's a backup catcher, but she will take on a new role, probably playing in the left field position this year. So, and then we're rounding out the rest of the roster with some newer faces to our program that we're just still trying to figure out what the best combination is. So we're working through those today in our scrimmage that we have, and then as we go into the first game of the season on the 13th.
Right, and you just alluded to it, some new faces coming to the team this season. Are there any on the team that you're hopeful could make an impact for you guys this season?
I've been really excited and impressed with our freshman class that have come in. We have a good group of them. Abby Braley, Danielle Lowry, so they've really, Kaylee Roberts, they've come in and really already started to get a sense of what our approach is. They've been aggressive with their bats. They're obviously already looking at, okay, let's be aggressive on the base pass. So I've seen some glimmers of what that's going to offer, and I'm excited about that. So we'll definitely see them making, rounding out that field that we were talking about in those various spots, and I think we're going to be pretty solidly placed.
Right, and then finally, could you give our audience some insight into why you ultimately decided to enter coaching at the high school level, considering, it's a volunteer role, a big time commitment, and, also with that, give some thoughts on how you've enjoyed coaching at the high school level over the years.
Yeah, so, I don't remember a time that I haven't been coaching. I obviously started as a parent. I have 3 grown children now. And they were all 3-sport athletes, all here in Windsor. So my youngest just having finished his diesel school in Wyoming. So they've all gone on and beyond. But I started with them as 3rd and 4th graders and 5th and 6th graders. My youngest son, Tanner, at one point, there was one winter I wasn't going to coach junior high basketball. And he's like, Mom, it's the first year you haven't coached one of us, So at first I didn't really think they noticed it, and then they really did. For me, coaching the sport is sort of an extension of being a player. I played soccer all the way through 4 years at Lebanon High School and actually was able to travel to Europe for a traveling soccer program in my sophomore year. I was the New Hampshire representative on a 50 girls, one from every state team that went there for like 20 days. It was a great opportunity. And then softball, I've been playing it, in high school, and then beyond that, I've been playing it in adult leagues my whole adult life. But this is now a way to do that and still be around the game. I love the sport of softball. I think for the girls, I always preach to them, this is something they can do lifelong. It's not just for high school, sure, the memories and the opportunity to be with your peers, but it is something that you can continue to play as an adult and still have that peer group to enjoy and be social with. And so showing them the mechanics of it, but also creating that love of the sport so that they'll want to continue to do it in their adult lives.
Right. Well, thanks very much for joining the show, Wendy. I really appreciate it, and I wish you and your team luck this season.
Thank you, Mike.
Now with me on the show is Mascoma Valley Regional High's track and field coach, Rick Currier. Rick is entering his 4th season as the Royals coach. Hi, Rick. Thanks for coming on the show.
Thank you, Mike. Thank you for having me on.
Absolutely. So at last season's NHIA Division III state championship, the boys finished in 3rd while the girls finished 10th. How are you feeling about your team's chances to match or eclipse last year's performances at the state meet?
I feel like our boys are in the running to certainly match that top 3 spot, maybe climb even a little higher, maybe squeeze up to 2nd, or if things go really perfect, maybe take the whole thing this year. On the girls' side, I definitely anticipate a jump. Last year, Georgia Condi won shot put and discus for us, which got us off to a terrific start. Braylon Stone, who's graduated, squeezed us out a couple points in triple jump. And Aubrey Mavagacci got us a couple points in javelin. But this year, we should have a very strong group of jumpers amongst our girls to give Georgia a little more support, maybe make a run in the top 5 spot this year.
Right, and, I wanted to ask you, track and field is a unique sport in that it's very individualized, but you also score as a team. How do you approach coaching a sport that has these individual aspects, but also has the team element at meets?
Yeah, it's definitely extremely unique because even at meets, they're spread out all over the place. One of the things we like to do, the kids don't always do it, they don't always like doing it. Sometimes at practice they want to get right into their routines, but we try to spend about 15 minutes at every practice with the entire group stretching together, maybe talking a little bit how their day has gone, because it's really the only time that you're going to have sprinters and distance runners and jumpers and throwers all together, is just trying to squeeze in a few minutes of that each day at practice for exactly what you said. You guys are all individuals, but you look around this circle, this is one giant team trying to accomplish one goal.
Right, and, heading into this season, who are some of your returning athletes on the boys and girls side that you're expecting or hoping to make, to have strong springs?
Yeah, I'll start with the girls. Returning athletes, she speaks for herself, Georgia Condi, defending state champion, shot put, discus. She's a UConn commitment, which is just tremendous for our program. We expect very, very big things from Georgia this year, but we don't expect her to be alone. Bailey Hill, we think, she's also a senior like Georgia, has a very good chance to place in high jump. She's coming off a little bit of an injury during indoor track, still building her way up with that, but we're confident she's going to get where she needs to be. Anna Emerson, another one of our seniors, Georgia, Bailey, Anna, no coincidence that there are 3 female captains. Anna made it to states in pole vault last year. She's still working to improve more and more and more with that this year. We anticipate she's going to make it back to states. We're hoping maybe she can make a run at scoring us some points. Going to some of the younger girls, Montana Ballard last year was strong in the long jump. She was exceptionally strong in the triple jump. She placed 8th in triple jump as a freshman last year, which is not the easiest event to learn or coach. Fortunately, she got some work with that in middle school, but she's progressed more and more and more. We highly suspect that Montana will place in triple jump this year. And our last returning female that we expect will do really, really big things for us this year, Lila Jacobson, sophomore, Lake Montana. Lila placed, I believe it was 7th in the high jump last year at States as a freshman, so she certainly has positioned herself very, very well to place at States this year in high jump. On the boys' side, it's going to be a similar size list of returners, much like Georgia. We got Barnaby Dean, one of our senior captains, returning state champion in shot put and discus. Barnaby's a Penn State commitment, so a school our size having 2 Division I commitments is very, very exciting for us, and says a lot about our throwing program and the work that our throwing coach, Dave Schindlinger, puts in with these men and women. Right behind Barnaby at States, though, was with Colin Myers. I mean, Colin would probably be the talk of Division III boys throwers if Barnaby had already graduated or was at a bigger school. Colin placed 2nd, I believe it was, in shot put and 3rd in disc at States last year. So right out of the chute, Barnaby and Colin are going to be racking up massive amount of points for us in shot put. A newcomer, and I know you're asking for returning ones, but while I'm talking about shot put, a newcomer for us, Lincoln Butterfield, did shot put in indoor with us this year. Any other year, he would have had a massive, massive season. He did have a great season. This year, indoor kind of exploded for Division II indoor. He placed 14th there, but he's going to be the number 3 returner next year for indoor track. So we think with Division II and Division III being divided up for outdoor, that Lincoln has a chance to definitely make a jump up and maybe even contend to squeeze out a point or 2 for us in shot put. Beyond our throwers, Sam Joyce, another one of our captains, 100 meters, 200 meters. Last year, Sam placed in the 100, ran a sub-23 200, which is blazing fast. It just had placed a 9th last year. But we are pretty confident Sam's placing high in both the 100 and the 200 this year. Carl Russell, 3200, placed 6th last year. I believe he's the number 4 returning runner in Division III for the 3200, so we highly suspect he'll be getting us some points in that. And then the last 2 I'll touch upon, a couple pole vaulters. Reese York made states last year. Silas Drukowski missed states basically on a coin flip, so he was right there with Reese. We think both of those young men have a very strong chance to place in pole vault this year.
Right, and I know you touched on it a little bit with Lincoln, but, on the flip side, who are some more newcomers on each side that you're thinking could be productive for your teams this season?
Yeah, so on the girls, we got Sophia Smith, who is coming off an exceptional freshman basketball season for our Lady Royals. She's also a top-notch, pretty much elite gymnast. So we brought her in to do some jumps. She's already at practice tied our school record. She's a freshman. She's tied our school record in the high jump, which she's tied that record of Bailey and Lila, who I touched upon earlier. We really think Sophia could give us 3 different girls that could place in high jump. We could take 3 of the 6 spots in high jump if things go really, really well. Tori Petty, she ran in middle school and took a little break from running. But we think Tori, who's a sophomore, is back to track, is going to do some things for us with middle distance running. Abby Harkins, brand new to track, but she is showing some promise in some of her throwing events. I mentioned Dave Schindlinger, our throwing coach. I may be a little biased, but I think he's the best throwing coach in the entire state, regardless of division. And he sees a lot of potential in Abby. So we're really excited to see where things may go for her. On the boys' side, Riley Hathaway, shot putter. Indoors, he finished the season, I'm not sure if it was number 1 or number 2, but he was in the top 2 for all freshman throwers in all of Division II. So, again, dealing with bigger schools. And Riley was right up there with any freshman in Division II. Ian Massacre, long jumper. He's, probably going to need to grow into things a little bit as a freshman, but he's jumping way further than your average freshman do. We think he's just going to keep improving, and if he doesn't make a lot of noise this year, it's going to happen very, very, very soon in the future. And then I guess the last one I can kind of touch upon, Nate McAndrew. He's a junior now. We did have him 2 years ago. He broke our freshman shot put record at Mascoma. Likes javelin even more. Probably is even better at javelin than shot put, but we've got him back this year. Really excited to throw him into what's already a pretty loaded throwing field for our boys.
Right, and then finally, I wanted to ask you, and learn more about what made you decide to get into coaching. High school and middle school coaching, it's a volunteer position, and, it's really a big time commitment. So I really wanted to know what, got you into coaching and how you've enjoyed your time coaching over the years.
Yeah, so I had some running background myself, and then I saw a post that went on through the Upper Valley Running Club that Indian River, our middle school, was looking for a coach. It was actually a Finding Our Stride program at the time, not a school-sponsored program, but we did go by the name Indian River. Finding Our Stride is just a wonderful, wonderful program that goes into a lot of schools that do not have school-sponsored running programs. They were looking for a coach. It sounded good to me. I went in, I interviewed with them. They hired me on, coached at the middle school for 7 or 8 years, loved every moment about it. Quite honestly, didn't even really have any intentions of jumping up to the high school for outdoor track and cross country. I had been coaching indoor track for a little bit with the high school. But then Tom Warner, who had been coaching with us, I believe it was for 17 years, kind of built our program from scratch, retired. The athletic directors, said to me before we put this out to anyone else, you've been with our middle school for a long time. You're coaching our indoor track team. Is it anything that would interest you? And at the time, my son, Rick Currier, was going into his sophomore or junior year of it, and I thought, boy, I'd really like to get a few more years working with Gunner. It was not easy to stop at the middle school because I loved every moment about it, but really to get those 3 more years of Gunner through his journey, middle school, high school, and now into college, that was definitely a big attraction. But Dave, had a great idea and was like, why don't we get the best of both worlds? Why don't we practice middle school and high school together? And then the middle school coaches can be available. All of our coaches can be available. And instead of trying to have 2 or 3 coaches doing everything at a high school practice and 2 coaches doing everything at a middle school practice, he's like, we can just mix it all into one and kind of go into groups. So Dave handles all of our throwers for middle school and high school. One of our middle school high middle school coaches, Alex Hurley. She does all the hurdling. So she works with our high school hurdlers. I handle most of the jumps, relays, sprints. Andy Dean takes our runners out on the rail trail for distance practices. She also takes the middle school out with them. And then some of our assistant coaches continue to work in, and I think it's played a huge role with developing our program even further. The kids are getting much, much more specialized coaching. And Dave was right. If we're just trying to handle everything at every practice, it would be extremely challenging. So that was a great idea. Got off track a little for what got me into high school. And again, that kind of went back to getting that extra time with Gunner. And then Dave's idea being like, but you can still be involved with middle school. He's like, you built that program, and I know you don't want to leave it. So it's kind of the best of both worlds now.
Right. Well, thank you very much for coming on the show, Rick. I really appreciate it, and I wish you and your teams luck this season.
Thank you. We really appreciate it, and we're hoping both boys and girls are going to have their best season ever. The boys did last year. They set the bar high for themselves, but I think they can clear it, and the girls are definitely on the rise.
And that will bring our first episode of the Upper Valley Varsity View podcast to an end. Thanks for listening. Next week, we'll be back with the next episode of the Inside the Woods podcast. Then we'll return to the Upper Valley Varsity View the following week. Until then, enjoy the rest of your week.